I've been asked to talk about our experiences in terms of grants for industries, and that's where I'll be focused. So in terms of Sarginsons, it was established in 1936. It's always been located on where it is today, so it's on Torrington Avenue, which is the Tile Hill end of Coventry. Established back then, making aluminium components for Merlin engines and other things which were needed at that time. But we've continued the business going forward and now focus predominantly in terms of automotive. So hollow section aluminium components for chassis, crash management, or braking systems. In terms of automotive, we need to stress that we concentrate solely in terms of niche market volumes, so Aston Martin, JLR, SVO, London Electric, McLaren, Lotus, those types of volumes. But a big part of our business is prototyping as well. So we will prototype for predominantly JLR, but we will be supplying into the very large tier one organisations who in the future will carry on and make those processes elsewhere. We work very hard within our business to make sure that we're not solely automotive, and up until recently, the oil and gas petrochemical industry has been the sector which we focused on. I know probably not a very popular sector for this room, and I will explain how we're trying to move on from that as well. But in the past, it has been a very important part for us, but it's really, really interesting now that the volumes within this sector are very, very fluctuating massively, and I don't think they're quite sure where they're going. Okay, so we're an SME, £8.5 million turnover, just over 80 employees, but we are classed as a large user of energy. We take solid aluminium, predominantly from Scandinavia, but it can come from a secondary source within the UK. We heat it up to 720 degrees C, turn it into a liquid format, and then we take it through to one of the 3 different foundries where we will manufacture the components. We probably use 4 times more electricity than we do for gas, and that's because gas is so much cheaper than electricity. So wherever we can convert our processes across to gas, then we will do. So just under £500,000 per annum expenditure, so energy is something that we really do have a good look at. I've put this up because I came across this a couple of years ago when I first came across the Green Business grants. But these are half-hour energy trackers which you can get, and any business, whatever size you are, you can get this information. We get this information from our energy broker, but you can also get it from from any of your energy suppliers as well. So we have half-hour tracker in terms of gas, electricity, and now water as well. Water is becoming ever more important for us to measure. It's not put up there so you can all be like me and be a real saddo on a Sunday morning and check how much gas we're using, but I do. So. Okay, in 2017, we went in on the first phase of the Green Business funding, and within that we purchased 2 recuperation gas furnaces. We completely changed our compressed air and drying system to variable speed. We did everything in terms of LED lighting, in terms of the whole factory and the offices. And at that time, we thought that we were going to spend the last bit in terms of power factor correction. So total investment about 130,000. We're only eligible for a 20% grant, but it's still great. And we had a 1.5-year payback. What we anticipated and we did achieve, 335 tonnes of CO2 saving. So hopefully that data has gone into Sarah's presentation earlier. And what we didn't know that we were going to do, but we're extremely pleased with, we were actually awarded as the Green Business of the Year for Coventry and Warwickshire in 2017. So something as a large energy user we didn't anticipate to appreciate. We've carried on in terms of funding. And the following year, we tapped into the investment funding. And this time we used it in terms of measurement equipment, in terms of 3D scanning, more spectra analysis. It says shot blast cabinet. With a shot blast cabinet, that could have gone down in terms of an energy saving as well, in terms of emissions. But again, 20% grant based on £125,000 expenditure. And then this year, we've already started on the second phase. So Councillor Boyle came to see us a few months ago, and we've invested in terms of a complete new sand foundry, which will be ordered this week. And we have 2 more gas recuperation furnaces which are installed in the factory, and a complete new die casting cell for a couple of the components which we brought with us today and is on show out by the coffee. So again, 20% grant based on £260,000 investment. As I said, I think we all recognise that probably the oil and gas industry is not a good sector to be fully focused on at this moment in time. And so this is what we're trying to do. As part of an element from the grant this year, we've created a new element within our business, which is the Sarginsons Technology Centre. We've started to work with Miles and Richard, who are in the room today, from Charge E. And some of these Charge E installations are actually already within the city. The ones within the city haven't been manufactured by us, but we have manufactured the aluminium components for the next order, which hopefully the City Council will place with Charge E. But what we're going to do, we've decided to do something a little bit different, and as opposed to just making the aluminium die casting, we're going to move up the supply chain completely, and the whole units will be manufactured, assembled, tested, with lots of other bits and pieces, sealing, 3D printed inserts, and then, as I say, fully tested. So the components will be die cast within Coventry and then put together with all the sub-assemblies and will be shipped into the city for installations further. So, and obviously we're hopeful that this and maybe some other similar activities will continue to dilute our dependency in terms of oil and gas sector. So back to the actual grants themselves. When you see the initial email telling you what needs to be done to apply for a grant, I think everybody will say, oh God, I haven't got time for this. This is too much hard work. And yes, it is a little bit of grief. Annette is the expert of this, and you can badger her even more afterwards. But I will say most businesses will have that type of information around them, or it probably won't take too much time to pull it together. Another couple of points I would like to make with them, that in terms of the time, the business advisors don't give you much time, and it's not their fault. The funds become available, and you have to get your applications in within probably a couple of days. So our suggestion is, if you have an idea, or if you want to go into the grants, be prepared early, get it rough together and be ready to go. There is another slight negative for the funds. As an SME, we do use asset finance, and because you can only draw down the funds when you've fully defrayed the expenditure, it does mean you have to be able to absorb quite a lot of investment in terms of your cash flow during those periods of times. We are lucky that we have a very good business advisor from NatWest, which is Gary sitting here today, and I think you need to work with your bank provider to help you through these times when you need to stress the cash, but it is an important thing you need to consider. But what we would say is that the schemes are really, really flexible. As I say, we put our scheme in, the first scheme for the green business, and we put in to do power factor correction. By the time we'd done the LED lighting installation and the compressors had gone in, we actually didn't have a problem with power factor correction, so we didn't do that, and we changed it completely, and we went down a completely different route. But the scheme allows you to do that. It allows you to be flexible. Once you've got all that support and information behind you, the actual application isn't particularly that difficult. It's quite a few pages of text which you will have around you one way or another. And so the claims process is really, really straightforward and really, really clear. I'm not saying this happens every time, but it certainly has been happening recently, and it did happen there. The City Council turn around applications for within sort of 12 days, so it's really, really quick. The other thing I do want to stress, and this comes from both Green Business and the investment fund, don't underestimate the support that the business team will give you. They will literally come in and help you with the application, tell you how to put your claim in for the funds. It is absolutely phenomenal, the support that they will give you. They want to help you to draw down the funds which they have available. So don't think you're on your own. There is an awful lot of support there to be able to give it. So in terms of us, we think that the pros far outweigh the cons for these grants, and if people within this room have ideas of where investment could be required, and particularly to help them support with carbon reduction, then we would strongly recommend that you give these a go.